Alrighty. This is G.I. Joe, the original 13. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't really get all these until later on. They did have some mail away and, well, garage sale figures. So it was kind of a mix, or a mixed bag, but some of the figures you did end up getting you actually really enjoyed playing with, and some became cannon fodder. Now, Stalker was a fantastic figure. So was Snake Eyes, which I probably forgot last time I did the original 13. Rock and Roll, awesome figure. And there's Steeler back there. And, well, Scarlet, just a nasty design. The Breaker is a fantastic figure, which hopefully we'll be getting from Super7. And then, well, you got Clutch. And there is a desert version of Clutch. Then we got Hawk. Now this Hawk is fantastic. The later version of General Hawk instead of Colonel Hawk, kind of a slap in the figure's face. In fact, there's a whole different face. And then we have Zap there. And we have Grunt, Short Fuse, Grand Slam, Flash, and those would be the original 13 Joes. And there was, I do have the straight arm ones. I do have the straight arm Cobra Soldier, Cobra Officer. I don't have the straight arm Cobra Commander because I'm not paying exuberantly crazy, insane prices. Now I did get obviously these ones, the desert ones. Clutch in desert form, and the glider pilot Grunt. And then there's the other version of Grand Slam in the silver pads. Now those ones back there, those ones don't look so great. So some did have figures remade later on, like Zap. It just doesn't look as great, but it's they gotta, you know, kind of keep the original head sculpt. Zap is not so bad. I mean, he is all decked out. I could have been a Grand Slam with those silver pads though. But this one, it looks like Grunt's taking a crap or something. Show me your war cry. Looks like he's trying to pass a log. So that version is just not so great. Now some people just loved certain figures, but most of these to me were cannon fodder because they were just pretty much all green. But like certain ones just stood out, so they weren't. You know, like Stalker, I love the Ranger look, love the camouflage. You know, he's got the beret. Rock and Roll got the bolts on his chest. And well, Snake Eyes, he was a commando. Eventually turned into a ninja. So kids gravitated towards him because he could do all sorts of ninja stuff. You know? And Breaker was an awesome figure, but I always wondered where the F was his machine gun. Going into battle with nothing but his radio. I'm gonna just be the announcer on this one, guys. And then Clutch is a cool figure. He came with the vamp. Steeler back there. I'm gonna pull up Steeler. Steeler came with the Mobat, which really sucks because you know, it doesn't have any other features. It just sits out in the open. You know, a tank should actually, you know, have those have those places where they can go inside of it. So now, cool figure, you know, Grand Slam. He came with a jetpack, which he'd probably use for other figures. But You know, you had a rocket. You had Rocket Man going off. So I did like that figure, and it's kind of cool. Now, certain figures you can actually switch parts, like this Stalker I have here is actually version 1's head on him, but I just painted it up and gave him a different look. You know, I like that. Reminds me. He looks better that way. He does. He looks pretty good. Now, General Hawk came with the missile system. The Sam. Now this guy is kind of cool. Like, you know, he looks pretty good. He was the Colonel. And, you know, anybody knows the A-Team. So, this face sculpt should have stayed. As well as the blonde hair. You know, but they want a Duke. Duke, eh? Wonder Duke died. Grunt and Zap. Zap just blew shit up because he had a bazooka. Boom! He was a bazooka man. Now, what's really funny is, like, why would you call your bazooka guy Zap instead of calling him Bazooka, which they did later on? They made a different guy and they called him Bazooka. But he should have been called Bazooka, not Zap. Flash should have been called Bazooka. So, now they did all share similar body sculpts. You know, that's what, you know, Hasbro didn't cheap out on the first wave. They just couldn't afford to do more. Oh, maybe they did, because they were a big corporation. And G.I. Joe is what kept that corporation afloat. But they've just crapped on it countless times. So, ruined the experience for all generations to come. As well as price fixing. Now, Grunt. Grunt is great. Grunt's a cool figure. Now, a lot of these, like I said, I did get mail away figures. So, you know, I mailed away for Zap. I mailed away for Grunt. And Short Fuse. And yes, Flash. As well as Rock'n'Roll and Stalker. I didn't mail away for Snake Eyes. I'm not sure if he was a mail away offer. I didn't. Some of the other figures I did get in a garage sale. So back then I just really loved my Joes, and that just stuck with me. You know, some of them have a story. Just like this one here, Grunt, the glider pilot that I gave, you know, got my friend Grunt for his birthday. And well, you know the story for that one. It was in my other videos. But you know, I love these figures, and that's why I still collect today. Is because it just takes you back. You know, takes you back to a nice time where you can really enjoy stuff. You know, relax, enjoy everything that is G.I. Joe. You know, nothing crazy. It's just all good fun. So a lot of us love collecting because it brings us back to a place, you know, the best part of your heart, and you get to enjoy that again. Now, should they have made more of these Cobra bad guys? I think so. I mean, you know, you only have an officer and a soldier. Well, where's the rest? Where's the rest of the army? And about Cobra Commander. But later on, obviously, we got more. But the original 13, you know, this one didn't even have foot pegs. Like, I really didn't like this one. I thought Scarlet was just nasty looking. Worst head sculpt ever imaginable. It is. But I don't know, it's just far from the cartoon, you know, didn't give her that ponytail. You could have easily made a head sculpt with a ponytail behind it and done a better job, but Out of all these original 13, who are your favorite figures and why would you choose them? For me, I already told you my favorite figures. You know, I love rock and roll. I love, well, Stalker and Snake Eyes and Breaker. You know, all these figures, so the rest kind of grow on you. You know, Hawk is a fantastic figure. But again, like, the rest have their place in time. They were remade, I think, for the Stars and Stripes, but they were made out of a cheaper plastic, so they tend to crack around the neck. So they're really crappy. I just made some of those into the customs that I have on my shelves. I didn't get them all yet. Now later on they did make another stalker for the Hasbro G.I. Joe Transformer, so it came with the Striker. Now there was some fantastic figures that were remade. That were made. Obviously you can go to Yojo.com and you can see that these figures have been remade a lot of times. And do they do a good job? Well, this one is. I'm surprised because Hasbro's been hit and miss on their, you know, remakes of figures, and yet they're the ones who created them. They can't get it right. Oh, just blows my mind. You know, maybe they should have factories back in North America like they used to. I think they had one in Quebec, and they probably had some in the States. So maybe that's what Hasbro should be doing again, is making G.I. Joes. I mean, they were cheap. You could mail away for a $3 figure or $3.50, and you'd have to pay maybe $1.50 per figure for shipping. So it wasn't that expensive back then. Now they charge like $20 American, so it'll be like maybe 27 or 28 Canadian. That's what we're paying for these Super7 figures. But these figures, they're not that bad. However, the straight arm ones, the thumbs were notorious for breaking off, just because you know, kids would try to bite them. You can see there's a little bite mark on the hand there. So try to put the thumb back tighter. Or you can just dip them in boiling water for 20 to 30 seconds and then run them under cold water while you hold it to get the tightness back, and it won't break off the thumb. You can make them tight like this again. So now there was a few vehicle drivers in that line. We didn't go to Yojo.com, which we should have, but they have listed Grand Slam, yeah, Clutch, and Hawk, and Steeler. They have them listed as drivers. I just want to see if I can go to this really fast and click on the vehicles for that year. We do have all the stuff. So there is the Mobat, that's for Steeler, the Vamp, Ram. You know, I love the Ram. I've got a couple of those. The Flak, the Hal, and the Jump. That would be his jump pad. And the MMS mobile missile system, I believe. And this command center thing is crap because it's, well, I don't consider it a real because it's made out of cardboard. Anything you just throw water on and it just wash away is crap. Now if they would have made a plastic set of that, that would have been great. But like, people are paying $200 or more for some cardboard. It just cracks me up. Hey guys, you couldn't like reprint this out on your own cardboard? Oh, geez. Seriously, you couldn't print it out or have it printed out for you? I'm sure there's a file of that. Not gonna cost you a couple $100 for cardboard. Oh, it cracks me up. But anyways, they should have made a plastic set and a better base for Cobra, which they never did until later on. We got the Cobra Joe, which doesn't even have missiles. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video of my original 13 G.I. Joes. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the videos with others, and your collecting experience. Which one of these did you love and enjoy? Thanks for watching.